Okay, guys, I'm gonna try to do this. We'll see how it goes. The girls are having a sleepover, so I apologize about the noise in the background. Um, I heard this song today that really got me thinking because it was talking about listening to what the ancestors have to say. And I was thinking about how human beings, just in general, individually and as a whole, um, repeat these cycles throughout history because they don't learn from the past. And it's super relevant to like what the themes have been in the readings the last few weeks. Um, Again, directly tying into the energy of this coming full moon and lunar eclipse. But when initially when I was awakening, it had been several months that I had been seeing synchronicities and experiencing things that I would logic my way out of. Like, oh, it's just coincidence and, whatever, go back to doing my normal thing. And I remember the moment that, like, I accepted what was happening was when I first saw a ghost. And, like, that really, and I'm not talking about like astral projection or anything. I'm talking about like an actual ghost. And I knew that me trying to deny like the spiritual realm anymore was not going to work. So it turns out that the ghost or the spirit that I was seeing, I described her to my mom, and she talked to my grandma's sister, who's like my great aunt. She's basically like the eldest lady, matriarch of the family currently. And she was telling my mom about how my great great grandma on my mom's side, her name was Ellen, she was intuitive. And my mom sent me a picture of her, and it was totally her. And so there's things that have happened that just, and she's definitely one of my guides. Like, I believe a lot of my downloads come from her. And my interactions with her were so sweet. I didn't understand it at the time, and so I was pretty scared. But like, she was petting my hair, and like, just this connection with things that we cannot see in the 3D plane, it fascinates me. And so the reading I did today was what do the ancestors have to say? And as usual, the messages that came out were super freaking powerful and potent. So I'm going to do my best to explain it. Usually the first cards that come out in the readings are, I mean all the cards are relevant, but typically when you're asking a question and the first card that comes out, it like the whole message can be explained in that card typically, but it is nice to have visual representations of the rest of the message. The first card that came out was Ten of Fire. The fire in this deck is representative of the wands. So typically the Ten of Wands represents like an ending of something. Tens are endings of something. but also a lot of burdens. But what I love about this deck is that this card in particular means releasing excess. And that came up in one of my other prior readings too. Releasing excess. Oftentimes we have burdens in our mind that really aren't that big of an issue as we make it. But not only that, but like, why do we hang on to things that weigh us down? It's like trying to swim with a backpack full of rocks. It's just going to make it that much harder. Release it. The clarifier card was protecting treasure. And I'm sorry, my light's not very good in here. So, protecting treasure. Why do we hang on to things that burden us or weigh us down that aren't really that necessary? This card, so there's a couple messages that came out basically. So we hang on to things because we're attached to them. We're protective of them because we're attached to them. Attachment is not healthy in any form. Really, when you think about it, it's just not. But also releasing the things that you're not, that are not meaningful to you, that are not serving your highest good. They're just weighing you down. But yet we tend to be protective over those things too. So it's kind of like a double message. Sometimes we hang on to things because of ego, which again leads back to fear. But what things are really important? What's in your treasure chest? Everything else is excess. The next card was Three of Water. So this is about celebrating life with friends and family that you love, where it's reciprocated, where it's joyful occasions. The clarifier card for this was wishing well. Wishing well is like, set your intent. This card is about intentions. Dream. You can dream. Make your wish. Set your intentions, in other words. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What's important to you? But once you toss that penny in the well, leave it be. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. You don't need to force anything. See how she's like tossing her penny in as she's walking away? Release attachments. This card is also about being protected. Do you see how she has the umbrella over her? It's also about being protected. If you protect the things that are most meaningful to you in a genuine way and release excess, if you're able to just set your intention and let it be, and what will happen, you're protected. In other words, the universe has your back. So how I took these two cards together were hang on to the people that are true, solid relationships in your life. Everything else, let it be. What will happen, what will happen. So, at the center of the reading, my light is so bad tonight, I'm sorry. At the center of the reading, this has been a major, major theme in every freaking reading I have been doing. Transformation. In this deck, it's the Death card, the Death and Rebirth. New beginning. Transformation. Release control. That's what she's doing here. Why do we control things? Fear, ego, expectations of outcomes. Let go of that. Allow that to transform. And I love that this clarifier card came out because it's the passionate spark of new things in your life. Spark. Transformation and spark. How more clear can that be? What fuels your passions? What drives you to have this with people? It's that new start, that renewed sense of purpose and pursuing initiative for or taking the initiative to pursue the things that are meaningful to you. The next card that came out was the Fool card. Literally, transformation, death and rebirth, and the Fool card, which is before the first card in the deck. It's the 0 card. Brand new start. Brand new. Based on true intentions and letting go of control and knowing that what's meant to happen will happen. And if you base your actions on things that are the most meaningful to you and release things that are not serving you anymore, that are excess, this beautiful process will take place. The Fool represents carefree adventure, fresh starts, obviously, but in a carefree, genuine, authentic way. And then the intention card came out. So this was all about releasing, accepting what will come, and intentions based on things that are of utmost importance to you. So if you look at this intention card, what I was drawn to, see how this owl is guarding this egg? Just with all this knowing wisdom. That's your intentions waiting to hatch. Look how big they are for this little owl. How the fuck did that owl lay that egg? It's like 4 times the size of it. But that's how our intentions should be. Because it's possible. So he or she is just super protective of this idea that's waiting to just start. And it's going to happen. I mean, how did that owl lay that egg? But it requires a process. Releasing control. Wishing people well. Super clear, right? That are just not meant to be on our journey anymore. It's a burden, and this could be about habits within ourselves too. But lightening your load, so to speak. Remembering just what is the most meaningful thing to you. Shifting your beliefs. Gaining that renewed spark for life. Pursuing your passions. Starting that carefree adventure. Genuine, authentic. Guarding your intentions. And making sure that they come to fruition. The next card that came out was the Ace of Air, which is the Ace of Swords in this deck. Aces are also the start of things. And swords represent the mind, honesty, truth, fairness, cutting things out, new beginning. It can also represent like an epiphany or a flash of insight, but usually it's like quick. So when you go through this process and you're setting the stage for where your intentions are taking you on your journey, if you clear out the excess, you'll be able to better see where you want to go and how you want to get there. But also being honest with yourself. But also, Ace of Air is like truth. Since this card also to me, even though this isn't the official meaning, kind of represents egos, like us protecting our ego sometimes. If we release that as much as possible, that's really tricky. And stand in our truth, awesome things will happen. It's very powerful to stand in your truth. It's very difficult because you will start to see the truth of people around you when you stand in your truth. And that's not easy sometimes because we're protective of people that we love. But if you stand in your truth and they don't accept you, was it really that? Was it really that? So the card that came out underneath was Dry Desert. Yeah, that's not distracting at all. I'm just kidding. So Dry Desert is like when you have this new beginning sometimes and you start seeing the truth about yourself and about the people around you, you're going to feel lost sometimes. I know that happened to me for sure. Like, am I doing the right thing? You know, is this really where my path is supposed to take me? And you'll know, as long as you're honest with yourself and you remember your genuine intentions, okay? But here's the thing. This card also represents digging deep for inspiration and truth when you don't see any around you. When you feel alone, when you feel like people around you are not understanding you, or how can I explain how do I explain seeing ghosts to my parents? Stuff like that, you know? So, but the point is, this allows you to get back to your core self. Your core self. The reason transformation is a death and rebirth, it's actually more like ego death and going back to who we actually are at our core. Who we are at our core. What is that? In all honesty, what, can you answer that about yourself? So, remembering who we are at our core, not having attachments to people or things, standing in our truth, protecting the things that are really meaningful to us, and stop protecting things that are not serving us anymore and are just excess and burdens in our life for no good outcome. Wish it well, literally. Let go of control. So, yeah. I mean, these are really powerful messages from, the question was, what did the ancestors have to say? And it's all about getting back to our core self. That's the actual transformation. It's not who you're going to become. Who could I be? No, it's who was I when I was born? Who was I before the world taught me who I should be, or before people told me who I should be or how I should act? That's standing in your power. When you have the strength to continually work being who you are at your core, that's fucking power. It's not easy because there's all this excess. So the overall energy at the bottom of the deck was Three of Earth, which is Three of Pentacles, and Bone Collector. That's hardcore. So Three of Earth or Three of Pentacles is like building a solid foundation for the future. When we build relationships that are not based in love and are based out of ego or fear or have unhealthy attachments that we can't let go, those relationships do not have any foundation. But when we stand in our truth and we start to build those connections based from a place of truth and love, that's freaking solid. That's not going to crumble. But it does take some shedding of learned behaviors and traits, getting back to who you are at your core, and starting over. It might feel lonely for a while, but you'll find your soul family as long as you stand in your truth. The people who see who you are and hear your message, they'll be there. You're protected by divine intelligence. Bone Collector's about, not even gonna lie, this is the literal meaning of the card in this deck. Being who you are at your core, in your bones. But also, my question was, what do the ancestors have to say? Look at how ancient this chick is. Be who you are at your core. Wow. It's also about accepting who you are at your core. As long as your intentions are good, she has all the love and respect for who you are at your core. But Bone Collector is literally being the most authentic person you can be is solid. You cannot go wrong. That's a message from the ancestors. So when I was like initially awakening, I was like, why is all this happening? Like, you know, why is all this happening? That's the message, because it spreads to other people. When you're able to have that inner strength and stand in your power and attract your soul family, awesome things happen. And it spreads to the next generation. It affects your kids. It affects your relationships with your family. But there's some work required. But my daughter told me the other day, Mom, your spiritual stuff, it's like actually working. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, when I come home, it feels like home. Like, wow, if that is not just... So also with the message from ancestors, it's about breaking generational, because this also has to do with family, right? So it's about breaking family traits or belief systems that we pass on to our kids just because we don't take the time to stop and think, why am I doing this? Just because my parents said that this is something I should be doing or shouldn't be doing? Or siblings or grandma, whatever the case may be. Breaking those generational cycles that are not working anymore. That's literally the message from the ancestors. Be who you are at your core. Stand in your power and spread your truth. And you will build a solid foundation for generations to come. So I'd say that reading was a success. Anyways, I gotta go help clean up frosting splattered all over the kitchen. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.